Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast and happy Monday. I'm Kevin Sully. He's Gordon Mack. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is the email address. Subscribe to the FloTrack podcast YouTube page. We got that bonus episode. We're going to put it up over the weekend. Programming note, we're going to put that up tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time. So if you're not a member and you want that bonus pod, you got a day now. Become a member so you can access that bonus pod. Gordon and I make our big bets for 2022. I tell you who I'm going to bet my house on. Gordon had one bet that's looking better. It aged well. And I want people, when you're watching that show, if you're watching that show, to realize it was recorded before this weekend. I'm not going to spoil anything. But it was recorded before this weekend, but it aged very well. We also have This Week in Track going up on the website today, which featured a special guest, the person most qualified in the world to comment on Devon Allen signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right. Gordon Mack makes his This Week in Track debut, so you can check that out. Gordon, how are you doing?
Doing good. Good weekend overall. Now that the NBA regular season is done, I'm now in Gordon Mack
Oh,
playoff
no.
mode,
This is not a good
which
mode to be in.
good and bad. But Philadelphia 76ers first round opponent. They're going to exercise their 2019 demons from the Kawhi shot. They're going up against the Toronto Raptors. In fact, there is a legitimate scenario where the Philadelphia 76ers first round, second round, and third round opponents will all be against teams that eliminated them in the playoffs the past 4 years, which would be it could go Toronto, Atlanta, then Boston. So that's what I want to happen. It's going to be a revenge tour, and then you come out on the other side a new man. Do you in sports? I mean, this kind of backfired on me because I'm actually a Duke basketball fan. So
In
when you go up
sports, he says.
in sports, would you rather face a team that beating them feels ultra good, but losing to them is worse? You know what I mean? So like, it's the risk
Yeah.
reward. Like, do you want to beat your rival, but you don't want to risk losing to your rival? I always think
Yeah.
of that.
I always end up as a fan hating the team so much by the end, even if I went in having some respect for them. So I say, might as well raise the stakes. Might as well
There
be
you go.
against the greatest rival or the team you wanted the most, which is what the San Antonio Spurs, of course, did when they beat the Miami Heat the year after losing in gut-wrenching fashion to the Miami Heat. For those of you who don't know, playoff Sixers Gordon is a cousin of broken shoulder Gordon. So this could get really bad because both the cousins have showed up to the same party, and we're going to see what happens over the next couple weeks, month. Who knows how long this is going to take? 2 months.
Oh,
Okay,
3
so we're going to
months.
talk Bermuda Games. 3 months. Okay, knock on wood. We're going to talk Bermuda Games. We're going to talk Devon Allen signing with the Eagles. Valarie Allman broke the American record again in the discus. First, do you want to recap the pickup contest, Gordon, now, or do you want to do that later?
Well, the pickup contest. So, I mean, we'll recap the pickup contest when we go to the Bermuda Games. But let's first talk about, I think, the athlete of the weekend, which is my girl, Miss Abby Steiner, who had two incredible performances. One, which I think is even more incredible, but won't get the real recognition because the time isn't as fast. But she started off running the fastest win legal time in the world, 10:92 in the 100. And when you watch this video back, it literally looks like her lane, her legs are like fast forwarding. Like it doesn't look like she's running in real time. It looks like everyone else is in real time and she has some like fast forward motion. That's how
Yeah.
great her turnover is. Her start, clearly, she's not really a born and bred 100-meter runner. She's more than 200, so her start's not as good. But if she can figure out her start, her closing, and her turnover is unreal. And there are some legit women in this field. I mean, Micaiah Briscoe and Aaliyah Hobbs, both
Yeah.
Olympians. So I think the sky's the limit after seeing this 100-meter performance. I remember talking to Abby after NCAA indoors, and she said her goal was to break 11 seconds. Well, she checked that off her
Yeah.
list very early in the season. But also, she wanted to get better in the 100. She knew she needed to improve her 100 in order to really improve her 200. She hadn't run the 100 in many years, so you can't ask for a better start to your outdoor season when if your goal is to focus on your 100 and then you run a world lead. I think it's going pretty damn good.
hmm And then the 200, 22:38 minus 5.6 on the wind. Now, wind in the 200 kind of tricky. They're measuring it from obviously the home stretch position there, so it's tough to get an exact read on that. But that's her PB, which is pretty wild to think about. I mean, she's going under 22 this year. That's obvious because she ran 22 low indoors. So that's not a surprise to me at all. But like you, I gravitated to the 100 though. And I know she's had better performances, equivalent collegiate record performances, NCAA championships. But for me, maybe it was just the way it was filmed. Maybe just the angle. Maybe it's just the idea of going sub 11 for the first time. But yeah, I'm like you. The way I described it was it looks like the turbo button got stuck on the controller and like she couldn't undo it like 40 meters in. She's just going and not stopping. And I see this tweet the first time, right? The Kentucky tweet. The Kentucky tweet says 10:92. That's Steiner speed. Abby Steiner gets a 100-meter school record, personal best, third fastest NCAA this season. It doesn't say what place she got. So as I'm watching this the first time, and we're at 50 meters, I'm like, wow, this must have been a fast race all around. She didn't even win, and she runs 10:92. And then it just keeps going and keeps going, and she somehow seems to be accelerating even more and more the closer they get to the finish line. I always thought she was legit. You were obviously higher on her for longer than I was because you've been higher on her for longer than virtually anybody outside of her immediate family has been. But
Probably true.
this won me over. This won me over. And like I said, I admit part of it is just the manner in which this race unfolded, um, and just how impressive she looks over the last 50. But I'm in. I'm in.
I mean, you said you gravitate towards 100. I gravitated towards the 200 because I like doing the weird. I'm Mister Love the conversions, but I
Yeah.
busted 22:38 into a conversion calculator for wind, and based on her lane assignment, based on the altitude, and based on the wind reading, apparently 22:38 converts to 21:6, which seems crazy, right? But
Yeah.
Abby, Gabby Thomas ran 21:6 with a little bit of a tailwind at Texas Relays. And I kind of am seeing that Abby and Gabby are basically very neck and neck right now if I were
hmm
to see them race tomorrow. And I think Abby potentially is on a really good day with perfect wind conditions can run 21:6. I know
Yeah.
that seems
Yeah.
crazy to trust a zero point 0.7 converter, but man, let me tell you, like you don't run 1092 and that's a headwind. It just I think the
Yeah.
converter is more accurate than we may think. And I really do think we have two American women who are both 21 mid to 21 mid high shape right now, which is incredible.
Mhm.
And it's going to set up for an epic 200-meter final at USA's because outside of these two, there's no one touching either one. I mean, Sha'Carri isn't obviously we haven't seen Sha'Carri yet, but she's not really great in the 200 anyway. Gabby's coming off her Olympic medal. I'm looking at Abby and Gabby as being like the clear 1-2 punch on the U.S. side, and if those two, I think, is also going to translate to being able to go up against Mboma and be able to go up against Lane Thompson Hurrah. I still would probably
Mhm.
take Thompson Hurrah and Mboma right now over either of
Yeah.
Abby or Gabby. But man, the more and more you watch Abby Steiner race, the more and more you want to kind of throw her in the Gabby Thomas category. Right now, I'm still going to give the advantage to Gabby Thomas, despite my year's worth of believing in Abby Steiner. I still do, but you got to take away the bias, and I got to recognize, well, okay, Gabby Thomas
Mhm.
is an Olympic medalist. All right, you can't just erase that because of a random headwind LSU 200 and be like, oh no, Olympic medalists, you're worthless now. No, you're at the top until you get beaten. So, but right now Abby is going. Don't be surprised if she upsets Gabby, which would be exciting at USA's in Eugene.
Yeah, my other thought is I need to rework the 200 rankings. I just posted them last week, and I'm going to edit them probably later on this week. I need to do it already. She was not in the top 10. I did not have Steiner in the top 10. That's a loaded event, though. That's one reason. Because you put people like Miller Weibo in there, like Sharika Jackson. So you have to wait until you actually have this incredible outdoor time. Steiner, remember, didn't have an outdoor season. She's been injured a bunch last year.
Yeah.
So she had all these crazy indoor times, but the 200 is such a weird indoor race. You don't really know what to do with them. I think we can get too carried away. I'm like every track fan. I love a good conversion chart. And shout out to this person at LMU who at some point in history made a win conversion chart that everybody uses. We have no idea how good it is, but everybody uses it. I take those things a bit with a grain of salt, but look at the margin of victory. Put it in context of the 10-9, put it in context of what she did indoors. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That's gonna be a great battle with her and Gabby Thomas. I mean, I'd also throw in there on the US side. I think it's gonna be fun. Prandini, remember, was sub 22 at trials. Tamara Clark was really close to Gabby Thomas at Texas Relays. That whole event, the women's too, is gonna be really good. It's gonna be really solid, and it needs to be if they're gonna compete with, Thompson, Hurrah, and Boma, etc. on the world level. But I'm a believer, Gordon. I'm a believer.
So one last conversion to throw at you. So
Good.
according
What if it
to
was a plus 5.6?
World
It was a plus
Athletics,
5.6. How fast does she run?
World Athletics gives result scores to wind aided performances or headwind performances, and according to World Athletics, it's worth 1231, which is basically 2204. Which I don't believe that. I think it's faster than 2204. But apparently to World
Yeah.
Athletics, it's equivalent to a 2204.
You know what? We're going to find out. She's going to run in fast meets. There's not going to be a 5 meter per second wind at Hayward. There's not.
Yeah.
So we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. This was a big weekend for you all around. You had Steiner doing well, and then you had Devon Allen signing with your beloved Philadelphia Eagles. This is why I wanted to talk to you for This Week in Track. I asked you, I said, do a 30-second reaction video. Guys, Gordon sent me 2.5 minutes of Eagles thoughts last night.
Sorry.
It was
Right
terrific.
away.
Listen, I'm going to need an editor for that. But yeah, as a track fan, as an Eagles fan, I mean, how many jerseys do you have pre-ordered?
Oh, no, I should do that. But part of me realizes you shouldn't order a jersey for someone who makes the 80-man roster. You should order it once they make the 53-man roster. And that's the big question for Devon Allen. He signed this deal, but, you're not really an actual NFL player until you make it past, the first round cuts, the second round, third round, etc. But this is interesting, though. I talk about this on This Week in Track. The Eagles are notorious for signing Olympians. They signed Jeremy Bloom, who is an Olympic skier, to be a punt returner. They traded for Marquise Goodwin, who, as we know, long jump Olympian. And now they're going after 110 hurdler and Devon Allen, who, I think is going to be a great it will be a potential punt returner for the Eagles. And I think that's what his role is going to be. Obviously, you're going to dream big and you want to be a star wide receiver and make millions of dollars and, making the Pro Bowl and everything. But in order to make NFL teams as unsigned free agents, in order to make NFL teams as a player who hasn't played in many years, is special teams. And if he is able to catch a ball from the air and outrun people, juke and jab and hurdle over someone, which I hope happens. How great would it be to see Devon Allen do a punt return and a tackler is coming at him and he does a classic hurdle move over? We see hurdle moves in the NFL a lot of times, and it's always put in slow-mo. But seeing Devon Allen do it would be something else.
Do you think if he did it enough, it would stop commentators from comparing every guy who jumps over someone to either Edwin Moses or Ronaldo Diamaya? How many hurdle moves does Allen need to do before the next generation is, oh, he looked like Devon Allen out there? instead of he looked like somebody from the from 4 decades ago. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for him. I was watching the Rose Bowl where he got hurt because I was trying to. I knew it was the first play. I didn't remember if he was on the ball or he was off the ball, and I was at that game, Oregon versus Florida State, 2015 college football semifinal, and he gets the ball, goes down. The commentators talk about, hey, this is the fastest guy in Oregon's roster. That's the NCAA hurdle champ, and you just realize, prior to that injury, the path that Devon Allen was on. He had just won the NCAA title in the high hurdles. And then he's in the Rose Bowl when Oregon football is at the peak of its powers. That's pretty cool. Not many people have both of those things going on. And then you think about from that point forward, okay, he has another injury. And yeah, he runs fast and he makes teams, but he obviously wanted gold. He wants world records. So things were great from him, had the setbacks. So now to see him come around, he finally breaks 13 seconds outdoors. Now he gets on an NFL roster. I mean, it's the story of a guy who obviously was insanely talented, had some setbacks, and is now finding his way back to where he wanted to be a few years ago. So I thought it was just really kind of, it's a cool story. Regardless of what happens next, I think it's a cool story. And then I ended up watching way too much of a football game that was 7 years old because I had it up on YouTube. But anyway.
And also, this move is going to be good for the sport of track and field, right? Think about how many Philadelphia Eagles fans are going to be watching USA's and Worlds now that Devon Allen is in it, right? And also, there's going to be a situation where people are going to be like, I thought Devon Allen was good when he gets second to Grant Holloway. And everyone's going to be like, I thought he was fast. Why is he losing?
Yeah.
It's like, well, he's losing to one of the greatest hurdlers of all time. It's okay to lose to Grant in a hurdle race. But, non-track fans are going to be like, I thought he was like an Olympian. Why is he getting second? It's like, well, he might even get third. He might get third. He might lose to Trey Cunningham because Cunningham's really good.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a fun little non-track knowledgeable people who are going to be like, I thought he was fast. Why is he getting third at USA's? It's like, well.
You mentioned the connection between the Eagles and Olympians. You forgot one, though. Who's the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time?
Oh, Randall Cunningham.
Coach and father of?
Vashti Cunningham. Man, Olympic rings run through the blood of Philadelphia Eagles greats. So,
Lincoln
welcome
Financial
to the fraternity,
Field, stand up.
Welcome to the fraternity. I'm excited.
This
makes
you so happy, and I love it.
Because if he does,
I love that you're so happy about this.
If he does make the team, I'm gonna love watching. I'm just gonna be like that guy at the bar, who's gonna be able to I know that guy. I know his weaknesses. I feel like an NFL expert. It's gonna be fun. It's been fun.
People are gonna think you're related to him. If you went to a bar and he's on the team, people are like, "Why is this guy still talking about Devon Allen next to me? Are you his way less athletic cousin? Who are you?"
The fun thing is I go on a lot of Philadelphia beat reporters, articles, podcasts, and all that stuff. I consume all that content, and it is fun hearing them kind of react to Devon Allen and be like, oh yeah, and just the way they talk about him, and I'm like, oh, this is a guy I've known for 8 years, and there have been so yeah, he played football, and now he's doing this, and he did this thing called
World's
track and
colliding
field
for you.
So
you're gonna be the well actually guy to all the beat reporters. Well, actually, that was a wind dated time, Chuck. So his PB is a little different.
I remember interviewing Devon in 2014 at the Fayetteville, Arkansas, at the 2014 West prelims. And I was like, ooh, I should get a Devon Allen interview. And I remember asking him about Chip Kelly because I think Chip Kelly had just left Oregon to become the Eagles head coach. And I remember is Chip going to be good? Yeah, I forget exactly what he said. But maybe he would have said something. Obviously, Chip Kelly didn't work out for the Eagles, but still won a Super Bowl a few years.
Best of luck to you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you. This is I'm excited for you. I couldn't have thought of a better team for him to go to.
Yeah, because if you would have went to Jacksonville, who cares, right? But
yeah, Well, I guess if he would have, I don't know, is Mariota on the Falcons now? That'd have been a cool thing. Or if he went with Justin Herbert on the Chargers, that would have been cool. Look at this head. Look at this interview. Look how old this is. Meet Oregon's wide receiver hurdler, Devon Allen. You're
Yeah.
introducing us to Devon. He was legit. You look up some of his high school times. I remember he went to Arcadia or something and like won the 1, the 2, and the low hurdles, maybe in the high hurdles or something. It was nuts. Richardson and Merritt to Devon Allen quit football. These are great headlines. Well, he did for a bit.
He did.
And then he came back. The thing is, I mean, I know this is a long shot, but, what if track goes really well? I wonder what it would need to take. Probably he
I don't
wants to
think
go
he'll take
for it, right?
No. Even if he were to win and break the world record, he's still going to try. Like, football season is not during track season. Like, it's.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right.
I think, right? That's what I think. Yeah.
Let's move on. Bermuda Games. Let's run through all the results. Gordon, I don't know if you heard.
Do you want to
It was
do an
windy in Bermuda.
audio recap of it? That's the audio recap.
Man, see, I could have used that joke earlier today. This is why I need to share the doc with you. It's windy. It's in Bermuda. So we'll talk about who did run, but a notable person didn't run, which was Grant Holloway. Scratched out of the high hurdles after asking that the direction of the race be changed so that the wind would be at their back instead of in their face. Wind readings got as high as 5.9. So Grant's tweet here, Gordon, I'll read it and then you can react to it. The wind is negative 4.6 right now. Please think about the athletes and not the viewers.
And this was a double down of another tweet where he said, flip the track, please and thank you. It's possible. Think about the athletes, not the viewers, at USATF TV and at NBC. Now, Grant Holloway, my boy, you're one of my favorite athletes. I think you're on my Mount Rushmore who I want to win, like in 2022. But this is a wrong take, bro. This is not right. This isn't the right position to have. I get it. It sucks. You came to Bermuda. You want to make your season opener be a smooth season opener. And this isn't a smooth season opener to have to run into a negative 4.6 headwind. But that's not why people are paying you, paying your flight, paying for your hotel, paying you an appearance fee to come to Bermuda to run for 13 seconds. They're not paying you to get a good rust buster season opener. They're paying you to run on a track to entertain patrons from all over Bermuda who are coming to watch you live and people from all over the world who want to watch you on TV or tuning in because, I'm a big fan of Grant Holloway. I want to watch him run. And when you don't and you say, it's because it's too windy, it's kind of bullshit. Injuries, that's legit. Should never risk an injury, legit. But you could have ran in a headwind. And then the argument it's unsafe. You could clip. Okay. Jasmine Camacho Quinn, the Olympic champion, just said, no, hold my beer. I can run into a headwind. Everyone else ran into a headwind except you. Now, there might have been a few other scratches you don't know about, but obviously you're going to be the marquee name because of that's the what, yeah,
he's one of the top guys that were advertised, right?
Yeah.
When it came down to it, there were some scratches pre-meet, but when it came down to actually the day before who was listed as running, he was one of the top 2 or 3 names.
Yeah. And I know again, I get it. You didn't want to do it and it's not ideal for your season opener, but that's not why you're a track athlete. You're not a track athlete just to put up times in a black box and then just make that time go faster and faster and do it year in and year out in a black box and no one cares and the wind's always perfect and it's just not like this viewpoint of like we need to think of the athletes first and not the viewers is why the sport isn't as popular as it could be. You know who didn't say this? LeBron James changed his mind, but when we did the NBA bubble, right? That wasn't ideal for the athletes. But they did it mainly because the NBA viewers wanted to see basketball during the pandemic stuff. Now I get it, but the reason why the reason why it was incentivized for the NBA players to live in a bubble is because they know if we shut down a season, we're going to lose a year's worth of revenue, and therefore then our next year's revenue is going to be lower. So there was money attached to the thinking about the viewers. But in this situation, like, it is about the viewers. That's why you're paid by Adidas, because Adidas is your Adidas users of shoes are your viewers or whatever. I don't even know who his specific viewers are, but like, he's paid to run because of viewers. He's not paid to run because of season opening times. And then it was, I think he's going to regret. I mean, he doesn't need to worry about it because he's Grant Holloway and he's going to run again and everything. This will be in the past and no one's going to think about the April 9th meet in October after the season's over. But Grant, you could have ran. That's all I got to say about that. You could have ran. You should have ran. Everyone else did.
I come at it from the perspective of, hey, I think this guy's generational talent. I think he has the opportunity to race on network TV. And as a track fan who likes it when more people get into track, I wanted more people to see him. I wanted more people to see him race. I wanted more people to see whatever celebration he had after. And when you don't run, that's a missed opportunity, I think. And I think track would be better if there was more Grant Holloways in terms of personality. But I think it would be confusing if you're sitting at home and you don't know anything about track and you're watching because he gave an interview, right, on NBC as to why he wasn't running. People are going to look and say, wait, are they launching a rocket? Like, why are we canceling? Why would you not run because of wind? It's like you're doing a hurdle race. And maybe the thought was more people would scratch, but if you actually look at the list, there's not a ton of scratches. So one of the few people who's not running is one of the main attractions. And let's just talk about this logistically, because people might have some questions. Flipping the start, changing the direction. What does it do? Well, first of all, you got people who bought tickets for the finish line, right? And there's a higher price to those tickets. We've all sat in the seats where you say, hey, who won that? About 6 times a meet. You pay money, so you don't have to ask that question. You pay money, so you're at the finish line, and you get to see the finish. So not fair to those people who probably knew it was windy and were like, yeah, okay, it's windy. It's track meet. It's Bermuda. It's an island in the middle of the ocean. It's going to be windy. Then there's the TV side of things. You've seen races where they flip the direction. You've seen what the camera angle is. Would you describe it as good? Would you describe it as something that you would want to present to the larger viewing public if your interest is to get more people interested in track and field?
No. And then also, to set up camera equipment to actually make it look good on the other side, there's not enough time in the day to reset up your camera position.
Yeah.
Also, thirdly, they probably didn't have the timing equipment to put up a second timer finish line at the other end. So if they were to move the timer for them to keep like the 400s and 800s consistent, that's time. They don't have time to move the timing equipment, calibrate it, then move it back to the original start finish line, recalibrate it. Like, there's so many. They're not set up for that.
Yeah. And you say, all right, have a second set of cameras, have backup timing equipment. Those just aren't realistic requests given the budget situation that track and field finds itself in. And then here's the other part of it. All right, you flip it the other direction. So now minus 5.6 turns into plus 5.6. Those times don't count. You say, all right, everybody would get really excited about it. All these people who tuned in, the casual fans tuned in. Yeah, but now you're explaining to them why none of it counts. Someone runs 9, Jerome Blake runs 9.7, or Tiana Daniels and Gabby Thomas run 10.5, and then you're spending all this time saying, well, that doesn't count because it's too windy. Either way, you're dealing with illegal wins. I'm with you. I mean, we hear this all the time. Track needs new fans. Track needs more fans. So things should be set up not to put athletes in danger. Obviously, everybody wants to prioritize athlete safety, but sometimes the conditions aren't ideal and you just got to get out there and still compete because the fans are waiting for you to compete. We saw this a few years ago. Remember 2018 USA's in Des Moines? There was that huge long weather delay and some people just bounced. And then some people stuck around and were like, "Hey, I came to run. I'm going to finish the job." That's a little different setup. That's a national championship. This isn't. This had appearance fees that didn't. I mean, I don't know everybody's individual contract situation, but yeah, you from a competitive standpoint too, it's just like who cares what the time is? Just go out and win. Just go out and get a win. Practice winning, right? Practice running and competing in bad conditions. So I was confused. I didn't think he would actually, when I saw that first tweet, I didn't think he would actually pull out.
This was Grant saying the quiet part out loud. This moment, and similar to that 2018 moment when Michael Norman said, "I'm not doing a 200 because I don't want to come back after the rain." This is one of the top athletes in the world saying the quiet part out loud. None of these track meets matter. Because if it mattered, he would have ran.
Yeah.
And the only thing that matters for Grant Holloway this year is actually only one race, because not even USA's matters for him right now because he has a bye.
He's got the bye. Yeah.
So literally there's only 3 races that matter on his entire schedule. First round, second round, and final at the World Championships. USA's doesn't matter. Diamond Leagues don't matter. This Bermuda meet doesn't matter. And this is him. I guarantee you, if it's a negative 5.6 headwind in at USA's, he's gonna be like, well, I have the bye, so whatever. I don't need to run it. I don't want to.
But why is everybody else running? Is my question then. Why is everybody else running in Bermuda then? Pretty much everybody else. Because it doesn't matter for them either.
Yeah, well, everyone else is running because they don't have the. I mean, I don't know why people choose. Some people are willing to. I don't know why everyone else didn't. I think Grant's at a situation in his career where he's at the top of the top. He is one of a. You could put him in the group of 10 athletes that are in world athletics like tier group of like. He is, he's Ryan Krauser, Grant Holloway.
Yeah, but Lyles would be in that group.
Mondo.
Lyles would be in that group. He ran.
I don't even think Lyles. Yeah, Lyles is in that group. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Lyles was willing to do it and he wasn't.
Lyles is a superstar. I don't know. I think there's something else. Again, it's like you can't say why is the sport not more popular or we want to have contracts like this sport or that sport. And then you have an opportunity to run on network TV and you pass. Like, and I'm not just saying this to him. I'm saying it also to the people who, were like, yeah, that's right. Why don't they flip it? They should flip the track. The priority needs to be on getting that positive win, not the negative win. I mean, it's not like a dual meet, right? Yeah. It's like there's money invested. I know it's not track, so it's not a ton of money, but there's money invested and production set up to go this way, and sometimes it's not going to be advantageous, but you just got to do it. Again, I'm coming at it from perspective of I want to see Grant Holloway race because I think he's a generational athlete and I want more people to be exposed to Grant Holloway. So that, and obviously we followed his career. We want more people to see his greatness, right? So run a 13-3 into a -5 and then drive Gordon crazy with win conversions. Like that would have been fun.
Exactly. Because I would have called it the world record that no one calls the world record. You could have ran a world record that no one calls a world record. No, and again, Grant, I'm giving you a hard time here. It's not the end of the world. He pulled out of an April meet in Bermuda. It's not like he's pulling out of like the marquee of marquee races that we all are itching to see. So this is going to be something that we forget about, in a week. It's probably old news by now.
But I think
I almost forgot about it. But, the sin is
I think you're right about
crazy, but it still is a little bit like, Grant, you made a little mistake.
I think you're right about it, though, not from just speaking directly about him, but symptomatic of a larger problem. I think that's why it's significant. Because in isolation, it's a meet in April that we're not going to be talking about in a couple weeks. But just the idea of professional track as a sport with something like this happening shows you how much these meets are de-emphasized and how little incentive people have to actually compete at these competitions, right? And how that looks to the outside greater sporting audience when people are not choosing to take like they're only going to take it seriously as the athletes are. Why should
Yeah.
the fan care, especially if the fan's not invested in track and field, if the athlete doesn't seem like they care? That's
And
my
you
point.
know, this goes across all levels, right? I mean, I talk about this in cross country. Coaches are like, "Hey, we can't overrun our athletes. You know, we
Yeah,
gotta debut end of October when they've been running all for 2 months long." You know, the NCAA champion in the women's cross country championship, Whitney Orton, she only ran like 3 times.
yeah,
And it's like, all right,
yeah.
what are we doing here? You know, it's like, we're going to rest you during conferences. It's not that important.
Hmm.
We got to focus on or rest you during regionals and all that stuff. So, like,
Wow,
all
now you're going at
coaches and
BYU. First it was
athletes, yeah,
Grant, now it's
no,
BYU. All of
but
Gordon's
coaches,
favorites.
they're all mental head cases with overthinking the coaching of track and field. They all think, oh, you can't be overrun. Oh, like, oh, the wind conditions. Oh, this, that, and the other thing. Guys, it's running. There are obvious signs of how you hurt yourself by overtraining and pushing yourself too hard. But running for 13 seconds
Hmm.
in Bermuda
Hmm.
is not going to make or break your season. Running a 6K in September is not going to make you run out of gas in November. Like, it's
Yeah.
possible. It is possible because guess what? You're running like 80-mile weeks anyway. What is this? Take away 6,000 meters from those 80 miles, and then you're
Mhm.
fine. So, like, I think Grant could have ran. Long story short,
I like
you
the
know.
tweet. Thank you, Bermuda, for the amazing hospitality. Big thanks to
Yeah.
USATF and national partners for hosting and providing the opportunity to compete to all runners across the world. You should call that a Holloway, like when you don't participate in something and then afterwards you thank the event organizers.
And it's almost as if he was kind of held it. I think that tweet was basically, you must tweet this in order to get like a percentage of your appearance fee. So he's like, all right,
It was
tweet
saved
it.
in drafts already.
Saved in drafts. I mean, all the athletes are
Or
tweeting out the same
schedule
thank
tweet.
you note, and it was all basically, in order to receive
Yeah.
your appearance fee, you must send out this tweet before and after.
Yeah. Fans are important. Fans are important, right? Fans on TV, fans in the stands. That should be a big consideration in track and field if it's to be a professional sport. Now, if it's not going to be, that's a different conversation. We can do that on another pod, I guess, sometimes of how would we do things if we didn't need to think about fans at all, which oftentimes I think is how track is ordinarily scheduled. I'm looking at you, 10 heats of the 10,000 at night. All right. You talked
I
about
will say
Camacho
this.
Quinn.
I will say this one last thing on Grant. Grant not running and not running for this reason gave us an extra 25 minutes of reason to talk about this meet because the meet was kind of trash. So Grant actually not running
Well,
was the highlight of the meet.
but
So
maybe he would
it
have
gave us
run
content.
13. Well, because of but let's just look at the head to heads, right? Because
Yeah.
if he did do something fast into a headwind and you did get your conversion chart out, then that would have been crazy. But I think you had some significant storylines here. You had Knighton and Blake and Knighton going 1-2 in the 100 ahead of Noah Lyles. I thought that was significant. Again, okay, you want to say the wind threw everything off. I'll buy that. It was that strong that I know results are going to be all over the place. I'm just basically I'm putting my hand over the times, and I'm saying if you looked at these results, what would your conclusion be? Because then you have the 100 where Tiana Daniels edges Gabby Thomas. That was a great race, and we talked about Tiana Daniels. All she does is make teams. That's sort of her MO now. You had Karani James coming back and getting a win. Same thing with Sharika Jackson. Stephen Gardner, a big comeback in the 200. Anthony Strahan running well in the women's too. And then Camacho Quinn, a dominant win over everybody else. I think if you get rid of the times and you just say, hey, timing system went down in this meet, just pretend, and you saw those results, it's a fun exercise as to like what your takeaways would have been. Of those, what do you think is the most significant?
I think Tiana Daniels most significant. I think this was a race to show I haven't gone anywhere. You guys been distracted with Sha'Carri Richardson for the past year and a half, rightfully so, because she's won great on the track and off the track. But guys, I'm still in my prime. I'm still going to be one of the top three runners in the U.S. So I think Tiana Daniels was kind of reaffirming my pre-race thoughts that like, hey, Tiana Daniels, all she does is make teams.
Yeah.
And her win, I think, was a good indicative of that. So I think Daniels winning was a good sign for her trajectory this summer. Lyles losing, I mean, this may sound like, this kind of reminds me of the way like I looked at Marcel Jacobs, right? I was
Yeah.
kind of writing off Marcel Jacobs until he would beat Christian Coleman at World Indoors because I wanted to keep an asterisk on that Olympic final. And I just refused to like let Marcel Jacobs enter the conversation. But then he did eventually enter the conversation at that world final. So now he's the favorite in my mind for the rest of the year. But
Ultimate gatekeeper.
basically, what we do as pundits and as fans and as analysts and all that stuff is it's really hard to believe that someone is legit when you really haven't seen it up until that point. You need to see it probably 3 times. I think 3 times. The third time is when you're like, okay, I believe it. And someone like Jerome Blake, who gets a win here, am I going to believe it that he, at the end of the year, will be a better sprinter than Knighton or Lyles? I'm not going to believe that. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to believe that your Bermuda Games win over Knighton and Lyles is indicative of what you're going to be at the end of the year. Same with Knighton over Lyles. That's not indicative of me thinking Knighton has passed Lyles. I need to see something 3 times for me to believe that there's been a change of the guard. And so Blake and Knighton beating Lyles, that's one instance. I need to see it twice before I believe in either being better than Lyles in 2022.
Blake, you probably don't remember this, but they had that boost games last year, that 200 straight. He ran 1989. So by your 3 race rule, I think we're at least at 2 now for him being legit. But Lyles, though, if he didn't have struggles last year in the 100, I would dismiss this. Now, I'm sort of conflicted because on one hand, it's opener, it's crazy wind, whatever. But then I'm also going back to last year. I'm like, hey, did I remember when I lost my house on that bet? Did I learn my lesson from last year? Because the flip side of this is if you're late to picking up somebody who's good, you also can be too slow to let somebody who's underperforming go. And that's the conflict that I have right now. Let me just say, though, it's clear Knighton is, I mean, we already know is legit, right? Based on what he did in the trials. But that's a great result for Knighton. Again, cover up the times. Who cares? He's been better in the 2 than the 1. This is a win for him. I mean, I know he didn't win, but I used to do, maybe I'll bring it back, the winners that didn't win section. Ari Knighton is a winner who didn't win. Like, that was a great race for him. He finishes ahead of Noah Lyles. Again, the field wasn't as stacked as we thought it was going in, but I like the fact that he shows up, runs into these crazy wins, and just gets it done. Blake, yeah, TBD. We'll see on him. And Lyles, I think I'll put it as a TBD generously. But
yeah, it's kind of frustrating that the results end with a TBD. But that's just what you're going to get out of season openers. We're not going to believe any of the results that involve the favorite losing because we're not going to let go of it yet. You have to hold on to it.
I think if you're a Lyles fan, if you're a Lyles fan, I think you wanted to see the momentum of the indoor season where he PRs in the 60 and his start looks really good. And you wanted that to carry over here. Now, again, the conditions were pretty out there. So I'm willing to extend some mulligans, but I'm also going to give credit to the people who overperform. So that would be Blake and that would be Knighton. And then I would go TBD on. I'm upgrading Blake. I'm giving him a win because he won. We don't know what it means, but
Giving him a win because he won. It's good.
yeah,
That's a T-shirt.
it's a
Giving him a win.
controversial take, Gordon. Winners who actually did win. No, I'm saying that we'll obviously need to wait and see on all of this, but I think that the wind was enough to where it's tough to sort it out. But I agree, Daniel's solid. Thomas, I think that's still a good result for her too. We know her better event is the 200. Camacho Quinn just demolishing people in the high hurdles. I mean that to me is a signal that she's not going anywhere either. I like that she just went out there and took care of business. Won by She won by almost 4/10 of a second.
Now I know this is maybe going to reveal my ignorance,
Mm.
but why Puerto Rico is part of America, right?
We're doing this again. Geography. With Gordon Mack.
Puerto Rico is
Uh,
Why
part of
does
the
Puerto
Commonwealth
Rico?
Games, right? They're part of the
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth. Yeah.
But why does
Yeah,
Puerto
yeah.
Rico not compete under the American flag?
Because it's a Commonwealth. It's looking at Wikipedia here. Yeah,
Yeah.
Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. Well, because some country, you see it in the World Cup too, right? England, Scotland,
Yeah. Scotland. Yeah.
Wales.
Wales. Okay. So it's
Right.
like that.
Well, in some competitions, they all come together, and in some competitions, they don't. They don't.
Because what I'm trying to
So
say is, I think
you
we need to
you
like.
want her
I want
to compete for the
Jasmine
U.S.
Camacho Quinn to be a U.S. runner. She's a U.S. citizen, so you would think. Well, we had that issue right with Mondo being dual citizen, and he broke the U.S. record as a Sweden athlete because we didn't update
Yeah,
the ruling. This
yeah.
would have been a similar situation because I can see Jasmine Camacho Quinn flirting with the world record in 2022, which would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Two Kentucky athletes getting it back to back. But
Well,
yeah,
now
I
you
always
got
think about like
Steiner,
Steiner,
Steiner too. Yeah,
Kentucky,
McLaughlin,
man.
Camacho Quinn, and Steiner.
McLaughlin.
Kentucky is. It's no
I don't
longer
think you
about
can.
men's basketball there. It's about women's track at Kentucky.
Is that the greatest? If you were to go to every college of the past 10 years, athletes who competed at that college in 10 years, and you got to take their 4 best athletes
Mm-hmm.
who are running right now, Kentucky
Yeah.
would be number 1 with the Mount Rushmore. Can you think of another school that has 4 athletes in there that you would take over those 4? 4 alma mater.
Single gender.
Single gender. Yeah, single gender too. Yeah.
I would guess.
I don't
Wait,
think
and it has to be the last 10 years? What if they went to college more than 10 years ago?
No, it could be they have to be just good now. They have to be good now. Like if you had to say like, all right,
Yeah, I know.
yeah. What school will compete with a Sydney, Camacho Quinn, Steiner, and Harrison?
But like someone who went to college in 2010, do they count if they're still good?
Yeah, they count.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
you could. I take away the 10-year thing. Doesn't matter. It's just
Okay, I
they're
mean,
writing in
USC,
2022.
USC on the men, you go DeGrasse, Benjamin, Norman. I'm missing somebody, I'm sure. Well, if you could do co-ed, you could throw
I mean,
Muhammad
Jewett,
in there, right?
Isaiah Jewett.
Yeah. Oregon, I'm sure. I don't know who the 4 would be. So you're looking at how they do as pros, right? Or how they
Yeah, I'm
just.
talking
Well, I
about
guess
how they
Steiner's not
are
a pro
right
yet,
now.
but
Like you look at that
okay.
that group, you could probably argue all 4 will be at Worlds, right? They're all 4 will make Worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, we're assuming Abby progresses. 2 of them are going to win gold.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get better than that. The other one might get
Yeah.
silver, and the other one might get bronze. They could have 4 medalists. Name a school that's going to have 4
Yeah.
medalists. I guess that's what I'm trying to point to. That'll be interesting. I'm going to look into that. What school will have the most world championship medalists in 2022?
This reminds me of when USC track claimed Allison Felix at the last Olympics, and then we said no, the the education department should because she wasn't on the track team. She got her degree there. They can claim her, but not the track team. Okay, other highlights. I'm just going through the results here. Again, it's just you're looking at order. You're not really looking at the finishing time. I thought Gardner's comeback was impressive in the 2. Thought that stood out. Good to see Karani James again. Shrika Jackson. I don't know. Is the 400 just to get in shape, just like Elaine Thompson ran an early season 400, or is it? I haven't seen any quotes from her about what that means going forward. If she's going to potentially run the 4 again, you'd think, all right, well, you want to avoid Thompson Hurrah, but then you go to the 4 and you got Miller Weibo. That's tough too. I think the path to a silver medal would be easier in the 4 than the 1, but you have the ability to run double easier in the 1 and the 2. Excuse me, than you would with the 4 involved.
Valarie Allman, American record. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. This is not in. This was not in Bermuda, although she threw with a 5.6 behind her. Maybe she could. Yeah, 71.46. It was awesome. The video is cool too. I know a lot's made of the fact that she had a background in dance and there's similar athletic movements involved in this, but like just look at this, especially once she releases it. The twisting and turning she does to stay in the circle. It's a sight to behold there. Yeah, farthest throw in 30 years. You look at those all-time marks, and it's heavily weighted on the 80s, which Gordon discus throwing was just really good in the 80s. I guess that's what was going on back then. Yeah, massive throw for Allman. Excited to see her in Eugene. I don't know, like I know discus can vary just based on conditions. So there's been situations where people put a big mark out there, but then when it comes time to championship season, they're not able to replicate it. But Allman's a medalist, so I think she's one to tangle with there. Are you going to bet money on the discus this year? Is this one of the events you're looking at as you look ahead?
I'm going to bet money on everything. Gambling's
Okay.
legal in Oregon. I'm going to hammer every single event. I did $100 last year. I might double down. I might do 200 this year. Try and make my money back.
Yeah,
have some fun. No, but I think the thing about the discus is like, I mean, this maybe disclaimer. I know nothing about the discus. I just know like
That's not true.
By nothing about the discus, I mean I don't know actually how to be a discus thrower. I don't know the technique of discus.
Well, okay, discusing.
But what
I
I'm
threw in
saying
middle
is,
school. I got you covered. I threw in middle school. Got you covered.
You did? What'd you throw? How far?
Like 40 feet. Not good. Not good.
Okay. Did you spin or did you just stand there and chuck it?
I would spin. Yeah.
that's
Okay.
like 6 Valarie Allmans.
So do you want to break down that throw then for us, Colt? Can you put the throw back up?
I'm so underqualified.
That's good. Gordon just did a disclaimer of I know nothing about the discus.
Well, what
on
I was
a
trying
track
to
and
say
field
is,
podcast.
I mean,
whatever.
no one
We've lost
knows the techniques of every single event in track. Like, do you think a sprinter knows how to pace a 10K? No. Yeah.
What stands out to you there, Colt, when you watch that?
The balance, I guess. Just like I don't know. I was just super awkward when I would spin. Like I could never figure out exactly how to keep like the rotation going fluidly all the way through. But yeah, she's very balanced, very coordinated throughout the entire thing, where I was not.
There you go. I was when I coached track, obviously predominantly on the distance side, but then we had some throwers come out, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to coach these guys?" And I was like, "All right, this is gonna be tough." And we didn't throw the discus in our section; it was just shot. And these kids wanted to throw, so I was going to clinics. I was looking on YouTube, figuring out how to do it. I met with a coach who knew what he was doing, and I was like, "All right, some kids are gonna glide, some kids are gonna spin." And then we started off the season, and I was like hoping this one kid could spin. And he threw the shot one time, went completely sideways out of the throwing area onto the track. And I was like, all right, we are done spinning. We will no longer spin. We are only going to glide because people like Allman and the pros make it look super easy. That is extremely difficult, and things can go wrong in a hurry. You're right about balance there, Colt. It's
But what I was
sight to behold.
asking is
Okay,
how, in
sorry.
order for her to get that mark, I feel like discus is the one event where wind is super important because it can help carry
Right. Get the
the
lift. Yep.
discus.
Yep.
It can, it's like, but the discus also isn't heavy enough. It's not like a frisbee where it can really just float in the air. It has some weight to it to kind of prevent the wind from just like taking it in and flying. But I
Well,
do
hold on.
think the wind
Thomas
is
says
great.
in the chat the only event that you want a headwind is the discus.
There you go. Thank
Well,
you, Tommy.
headwind is wind though. Wind
Wind in general.
obviously wind in general, which is you get in these. I talked to someone a couple years ago who knew stuff about throws, and because I was saying, hey, are we going to see? It was back when Perkovich or whoever was dominating. I said, are we going to see this type of distance at the championships? And the person was just explaining that there's places that people go in the world that are conducive to really big throws, and then you put them in a stadium, and that cannot be replicated all the time. So San
Interesting.
Diego is one of those spots. I'm looking at the chat here. People are weighing in on your question about which college we have the best for. Tampico says USC. Nick says UTEC. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Thomas says Texas A&M women. Athing Mo, Tyra Gittens, Cherokee Young, and ... Yeah, you'd need a fourth one there.
But like Cherokee Young is not at the same level as any of those four in Kentucky.
Well, 50-0, if she improves on that, could be a medalist.
Maybe.
Like I could see her getting a bronze and Steiner getting a bronze the same way. But you're right. You
I don't
have
think Cherokee Young's getting a bronze in the 400.
Kentucky has. I do betting on it right now. Kentucky has 2 world record holders.
Yeah, and 3 guaranteed medalists, assuming Kenny Harrison medals.
Yeah. The problem is they got 2 in the same event. Now, for efficiency's sake, they need to spread those high hurdlers out. You also have, so you have Steiner is current coach, Lonnie Green, right? Then you have Sydney and Camacho Quinn, who ran when Edric Floreal was there, right? And then you have Kenny? I mean, she must have run there when Flo was there too, right? But it's just like it's spanning a lot of different eras.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. We good? Good pod.
Yep.
Great job. Everybody involved.
Same to you, man.
Well done. We probably missed some stuff. We'll cover that on Wednesday show. Remember, bonus pod is on Tuesday. We'll release it at 9 a.m. Central. So if you're not a member, become a member. Let me look on YouTube here. You can hit join, and then you can get access to that bonus pod. If not, still get the 3-day a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. Central on YouTube. Great discus analysis today, Gordon. Really enjoyed doing the pod with you. And thanks to Colt for producing, and thanks to Travis for producing. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll have a new pickup contest soon. Oh, do you want to talk about how that worked before we go? I forgot about the pickup contest. It got screwed up because we had a time.
Yeah.
We had Holloway's finish time. And then the other
figure
ones
out what we're
were
gonna do
who
with
won
that.
women's and the men's. So it's just track is complicated. All right.
When we do the next weekend's pickup, we'll update you on that situation with the new one. So
stay tuned. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.